At the Boston International Airport, cartoonist Clay is trying to call his family, whom he abandoned to try to pursue his artistic dream. He wants to tell them he's come to Boston to meet with them again, but his phone runs out of battery. All the power outlets are being used by people, so Clay has to use a payphone to call his ex-wife. Suddenly most people in the airport begin squirming and groaning in pain while still holding their phones against their heads, including people with headphones or Bluetooth headsets. A horrible noise screeches in their ears and soon they start frothing at the mouth before transforming into zombies, causing them to attack the few unaffected people. As violence and chaos take over the airport, Clay sees a zombie attacking a young girl and hits him to save her. There's a guy feeding on a dog, others falling off the second floor, and a girl who steals a phone to call 911 only to start mutating as well. Clay watches how the girl crashes against the wall and a restaurant cook uses his knife to kill people, so he uses his portfolio to defend himself before kicking the zombie down. Then a few guards finally show up and start shooting the zombies down, so Clay shares his conclusion. Only people who talked on their phones have mutated, so the guards shouldn't use theirs to call for backup. Things continue to get worse as the guards fire whoever gets in the way, so Clay tries hiding among the seats while outside two planes collide in the air, causing them to crash right into the building with a big explosion. Thankfully Clay manages to run away just in time and takes the escalator to reach the underground, but two creatures come after him and jump, causing him to fall to the ground on a pile of squirming zombies. Suddenly a worker comes off the train and almost kills Clay, but another guy stops him by pointing out that Clay isn't a zombie. Both men drag Clay into the train with other survivors and he warns them about the phones, but they explain that they can't receive a signal down here anyway. Train conductor Tom also points out that the power has been shut down and therefore the train isn't working, so they'll have to walk through the tunnels to escape. Most of the survivors are too afraid to wander around, so Tom and Clay leave with Mike. They walk for a while until they see light from the exit, where a few people are standing by. The group wonders if they're zombies or humans, but before they can check, a zombie comes out of hiding and immediately kills Mike. Clay immediately attacks the zombie and pushes him away, but the noise gets the attention of the zombies by the exit, who come after them. Then Tom finds some stairs, so he and Clay quickly start climbing up toward a manhole while kicking the zombies that try to grab their legs. A zombie almost manages to follow them out, but they work together to push him down and close the manhole, which they then block with a dumpster. Afterward they rush to Clay's home, where they find the door destroyed and the neighbors dead in the corridors. Once they reach Clay's apartment, Tom notices all of Clay's creepy art on the walls. The landline phone isn't working so Clay borrows Tom's to warn his family, but the reply comes back all scrambled. Tom tells him to put the phone in the freezer to make the battery last longer. Later in the evening, the duo is sharing a drink when they suddenly hear someone banging on the door. Clay carefully opens it to find Alice, the upstairs neighbor. There's a knife in her hand and she's covered in blood, but she doesn't appear to be a zombie so they let her in. Clearly scared, Alice asks them to close the blinds to avoid being seen and explains she had to kill her mother, which left her traumatized. Clay tells her to shower and lends her some clean clothes his ex-wife left behind. Then Clay announces that he'll go out to find his family, explaining he thinks they may be well because his wife was still talking to him normally when the attack happened, and his son never makes calls, he only texts. Both Tom and Alice agree to go with him, but first they'll take a few hours to rest. While Alice sleeps, Tom says this is probably a terrorist attack, but their chat is interrupted by Tom's phone suddenly ringing in the freezer. After taking a quick look, they decide to cancel the call and leave it there. In the morning, they look out the window and notice there are hundreds of zombies in the streets, which reminds Alice of a flock of birds. After grabbing some objects they can use as weapons, the trio leaves the apartment and immediately sees a crowd of zombies nearby. At that moment a couple passes by on a motorbike and the zombies quickly go after them, giving the trio a chance to escape unnoticed. While crossing the suburbs, they see a house with signs that indicate the owners have tons of guns. They decide to break in and are careful to look around, but they don't see anyone until Alice finds a bunch of bodies in the basement. The trio takes the opportunity to gather every gun they can find, but before they leave, Alice notices a young boy petting a dog on a swing in the backyard. Worried, they go to check on him, but as soon as they talk the boy turns around and snarls, proving he's a zombie. Tom immediately shoots him, only for a bunch of zombies to suddenly appear in the woods behind the house and begin running towards them. The trio opens fire, slowing down the zombies as they run away. The bullets aren't enough to stop the zombies from chasing them, so the trio keeps running through the woods, which causes many dumb zombies to crash into trees or trip on branches. But even with a broken leg, the zombies still keep moving. The trio tries to shoot them down again, but more zombies keep showing up, so the group runs to the lake and hides under a boat. When the zombies reach the lake too, they look at the sunset and open their mouths to emit a horrible screeching noise that sounds like a phone signal. Then they just walk away. The trio discusses what just happened and concludes the zombies are programmed to stop at sunset. Tom wonders how the zombies knew where they were so quickly and realizes that they learned their location when the boy saw them, meaning they share a hive mind. Afterward the group keeps traveling for an entire day. When night falls again, they suddenly hear some music and follow it to find an academy building, where they're welcomed by student Jordan and headmaster Charles. They say they'll be fine as long as the music plays and show them what they mean by taking the trio to the sports field, where all the zombies are lying down together while music comes out of their phones and their mouths. Charles proves they won't wake up by stabbing a zombie in the leg and points out that these creatures work as one for the good of the group. He even calls it the next stage of human evolution, but he worries about the zombies possibly realizing they don't need to sleep. It's obvious that they need to kill all these zombies before they wake up, so Charles suggests spraying them with gasoline and burning them down while they're still asleep. Tom and Clay get into a truck and start to spray the gasoline all over the field of bodies, driving over them as if they were grass. Once the truck is out, Charles sets them on fire with a flaming arrow and the group watches the zombies burn, but a few start waking up so they have to shoot them down. At that moment the flames follow a trail of gasoline into the truck and cause it to explode, killing Charles in the process. Jordan has a breakdown and Clay has to comfort him. Sensing a feeling of rage coming from the burning bodies, the group decides to leave the academy. After wandering around for a while, they find an empty drive-in theater to hide in during the daylight. Tom prays for their future and the group goes to sleep, but Clay hears a weird noise coming from the bathroom. When he goes to check, he's shocked to find a zombified Raggedy Man getting busy with his ex-wife. At that moment Clay wakes up and realizes it was a nightmare, but by chatting with the others, they discover they all dreamed about the same guy. It's very strange because Raggedy Man is a character from Clay's comics. When night falls, the group goes out and finds a burning pile of mobile phones nearby. Suddenly Tom and Alice's phones ring, but they just add them to the pile. After walking for a few hours, they find a roadside bar with some graffiti that says Cashwalk no pho. Wondering if it means no phones, the group enters the bar and finds more survivors, who explain they're traveling to Cashwalk, a state park in Maine where supposedly there's no cell service. While everyone shares a drink, Tom asks Clay how his comic ends, but Clay never finished it. Sometime later while everyone is asleep, Sally is woken up by a strange noise. She goes to the door to make sure it's locked, but she's still curious and puts her ear on the door to listen to a weird signal-like noise. At that moment Clay also wakes up and sees Sally simply standing there. As he approaches her, he doesn't notice the other survivors standing behind him and one of them attacks him. Somehow Sally and a few others have become zombies, and now chaos takes over the bar. Clay gets the zombie off him by shooting him, and Tom also opens fire while other zombies hold the bartender down. Then Sally begins screeching directly into his ear to transform him, revealing that hearing the signal-like noise from another zombie up close is enough to become one. The bartender attacks Clay so he retaliates by beating him down while another zombie jumps on Tom. Alice quickly saves him with a few shots, and Sally uses the chance to hit her from behind with a bat. Tom immediately kills Sally, who was the last zombie standing. Then the group rushes to cover a bleeding Alice with blankets. They take her outside so she can see the sunlight one last time, and Alice soon dies. After burying their friend, Tom, Clay, and Jordan keep on traveling, unaware that the Raggedy Man watches them from afar. A few hours later, they encounter a campsite with Ray and Denise, who claim to be zombie killers. They already tried Cashwalk, but it turns out the no-phone zone is a lie. The park used to be that way, but when they built a casino in the area last year, they also put up a cell phone tower. Ray and Denise have also had dreams of the Raggedy Man, and Ray thinks killing him will defeat all the zombies. The duo also reveals that they have captured Denise's zombified brother and use him as an alarm. He usually keeps quiet but starts acting up when other zombies are approaching. At that moment the brother starts moving and repeating "Are you coming home?" using the voice of Clay's son. When Clay removes the hood from his face, the zombie even says "Hi Dad" in the kid's voice, so Tom shoots him in the head before he can transmit their location to others. Afterward they all escape in Ray's ice cream truck, but after a few hours of driving, Ray stops the truck and goes into the forest. Clay follows him and hears Ray say that he's seeing the Raggedy Man everywhere, refusing to believe it may be a hallucination caused by his lack of sleep. Deciding it's too late for him, Ray announces he gives up and throws a cell phone to Clay, explaining that when the time comes he should call the number on the slip. Then he tells Clay to step away and activates an explosive to end his pain. Sometime later, the group arrives at Clay's house. When he looks inside, he doesn't see anyone, but he does find a message on the fridge left by his son explaining his mom became a zombie so he went to Cashwalk. Frustrated, Clay kicks down some furniture before checking the attic, where he opens the door and is suddenly attacked by the Raggedy Man. Clay struggles against the zombie's hits and can barely defend himself, but then Tom arrives and drags the creature away. The zombie starts attacking Tom instead, so Clay uses the chance to retaliate and begins beating the zombie up with a piece of wood. Soon Tom joins him and adds a few shots until the zombie is finally dead. When the zombie's hood falls, Clay is devastated to realize this isn't Raggedy Man, it's his ex-wife. Afterward Clay begins considering using Ray's phone and Tom checks the truck to discover that's packed with explosives, meaning the number on the slip activates them. Clay decides to go to Cashwalk even if it's too dangerous because he wants to find his kid, so he gives Tom, Denise, and Jordan the keys to his wife's car so they can leave for Canada. He also gives Jordan some spray paint, asking him to paint the group's initials on the side of the road every couple miles so he can reunite with them later. After saying goodbye to his friends, Clay drives off in the truck and doesn't stop even when he sees survivors asking for help by the road. Eventually he makes it to the phone tower in Kashwak and is shocked to see the thousands of zombies marching in a circle around it. Clay pushes through them with the truck and they don't even react, allowing him to reach the center of the circle and find the Raggedy Man. With no hesitation, Clay speeds up and hits him with the truck before coming out and shooting him until he has no bullets left. Suddenly Clay hears his son's voice echoing in the area and asking him to come home. A desperate Clay joins the crowd and begins beating down zombies, but it's impossible to find the kid among these many bodies. Eventually he falls and almost gets trampled on, so he has to crawl out of the crowd and back to the center. Giving up, Clay takes out Ray's phone and gets ready to activate the explosives, but at that moment his son appears in front of him. Clay immediately hugs him, yet the kid doesn't react, and now all the zombies including the Raggedy Man are opening their mouths to make the signal-like sound. The child soon joins them, so Clay hugs him again and finally sets the bombs off, causing a huge explosion that brings down the phone tower. Sometime later, Clay and his son are walking toward Canada while following the graffiti left by Jordan. However, this turns out to be a hallucination, and the real Clay is actually another zombie in the horde marching around the tower. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.